Welcome to our webinar, Humility and Bold Behavior in Selling. And we're going to do something couple different things today, particularly to acknowledge the folks who have been coming for quite some time. So it's humility and bold behavior in selling. That's our theme. So are any of you folks concerned? Are we bringing you enough new ideas here? This is about our 15th or 20th webinar. We started doing them during COVID. And quite properly, you may be concerned, those of you who have come many times, are there enough new ideas here? I mean, think about, for instance, Aristotle, his first law of logic. A is A, existence exists. Everything has a definite nature, including me. Perhaps I've run out of ideas. Or think about Isaac Newton, his second law of thermodynamics, entropy. Everything runs down in the universe, including me. Or consider Adam Smith's diminishing returns to scale. There's got to be a time when I run out of ideas. But not today. Today, you're going to see fantastic new stuff. We're going to go way out of the box. We're going to talk about humility, bold behavior, the half idea principle. So I ask you, are you ready for a non-conventional discussion of humility? Then you should fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare yourself for a deep plunge into the world of urgency-based selling. In past webinars, we've talked about your personal brand. What goes into your personal selling brand? There's a lot of stuff that goes into your personal selling brand. Today, we're going to look at two features of it, humility and bold behavior. And in doing so, we're going to take a journey in both to the seller's mindset and the buyer's mindset, maybe a little more focus on the seller's mindset. So are you ready? Let's begin with a discussion of the tyranny of the or. This was discussed in Built to Last by Collins and Porras. The basic idea is we set up these false alternatives in life. A classic one is for business leadership, should I make good products or should I make that are good for society, or should I earn a profit? One or the other. And the answer is an and, not an or. So we make money by making products that are good for society and our customers. So again, should we be humble or bold? And the answer is we should be both. And there's a connecting idea here. And the connecting idea is earning the right. We earn the right to the bold behavior. So instead of an or, we go for an and. And we're going to talk today about how do you earn the right to the bold behavior. Collins calls this the genius of the and. So most of us in selling are good at the humility part. We want to get you to make sure you're bold also at the same time. So a key question is, are we earning the right? Are we earning the right to be bold? Earning the right is a deep form of humility. We earn the right to many things: the first meeting, the follow-up meeting, asking questions, the information we need to close, an opportunity to bid, feedback on our bid, and winning the business. You'll notice I put red rectangles around the first meeting, which is critical. If we don't have a first meeting, we have nothing. And the winning the business. Are you earning the right to each stage? There are three fatal flaws in selling. They're all assumptions. Assuming the prospect's serious, the prospect believes us, and the prospect knows how to make a good decision. This idea of earning the right is very tied up with the first assumption that the prospect is serious. If we don't earn the right, the prospect's not going to be serious. And so when we don't earn the right, we commit this first fatal flaw and it destroys our selling process. What we're shooting for is to become a trusted advisor. And the problem we face in business development is very often the prospect, the competitor, is already a trusted advisor. And we're like trying to kick the soccer ball upfield, and it's canted and they have an advantage over us. So they're in a relationship, they're a trusted advisor, and we're trying to come in on a transaction basis. Well, if we use humility and boldness properly, we could level the playing field to develop our own trusted advisor relationship, very often before experience. This may require a paradigm shift. The idea of the paradigm shift was pioneered or popularized in the book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, by Kuhn. So the two basic ideas are there's an anomaly and a paradigm shift. In the book, he talks about the physics community fraternity, physicists going from the Newtonian to the Einsteinian view of the world. The anomaly, the unexplainable event, was the some marks on an X-ray that could not be explained by Newtonian physics. Well, that's all we're going to do on physics for today. The anomaly that we're facing is we're not closing enough because we tend to think of humility and boldness as opposites. Humility, either you're humble or you're bold. And the paradigm shift we're going to work on is using humility to earn the right to bold behavior. So we're looking for a union, a combination of humility and bold behavior. A core idea here is that the prospect's on a false summit. If we can't bring the prospect to a higher summit of well-being, why should they do business with us, right? So the prospect's on a false summit. They're really happy where they are, but they're looking down. And our job in selling is to get them to look up and notice that there's a higher peak of well-being. And that's the core of selling. The prospect's looking down. We need to get the prospect to look up to see the true vision, the true summit. Now, how do we do this? It's one of the most powerful things we could do is paint a roadmap to help the buyers see their future. Like true decision makers are definitely interested in information we could bring about their future. In doing so, we solve the innovator's dilemma, described in the book called The Innovator's Dilemma by Christensen. The basic idea of the innovator's dilemma is that if we do the classic marketing approach, find out what a customer wants and deliver it, if we do this in a time of change, of a lot of change, we're going to go bankrupt. The example that he gives is technological change, disk drive makers. In the 1960s, you had 13-inch floppies, and then you had 7-inch on mini computers, and then 5 1/4, and then 3 1/2. And each generation of manufacturers of floppies, they asked the customer, what do you want? And they said, make our size floppy, but make it faster, put more data on, and cheaper. And so each generation followed the instruction, and they went bankrupt because there was technological change. So when we develop a strong relationship, it must be not only strong enough to get upstream inside information from our prospects and clients, but also the relationship should be strong enough so that we could coach the prospect on what they need for the future. And that's the solution to the innovator's dilemma. This coaching the prospect, but you got to earn the right to it, right? How do you do this? It's with type 3 knowledge. In our pre-planning, we should be asking ourselves, how do I build the prospect's business? How do I save them cost? How do I show them this future picture? So there are 3 types of knowledge. Type 1 is what they know. Type 2 is what they know they don't know. And type 3 is what they don't realize they don't know. We need to bring type 3 knowledge. Now, if we go to a typical decision maker, a buyer, he or she may not be interested in the future. They're interested in their convenience. They're a price buyer. We may need to go higher in the food chain to an owner, to a top executive, to get somebody who cares about the future of their business. Now, it's really important to show that future with a powerful message. I want to give you 5 examples of powerful messages that drove sales. For a billing and collecting company, our customers have 30% less likely to go bankrupt, or 30% less likely to go bankrupt. Sales were up 20% driven by that and other messages. For advertising in a magazine about the internet, 30% of our readers, we proved it, keep our magazine by the computer when they do online research. That led to a 55% increase in 1 year. Another client sells overruns in seconds in a declining industry to manufacturers who use the raw materials. So the manufacturers who use those raw materials were beating on salespeople and saying, you sell junk. And we flipped the script and said, we sell business, we save businesses. We're in the business of saving your business. You need to dollar average with some of our raw materials, particularly the overruns. And In a business that was declining probably 7 to 10% a year, they had 5 or 6% growth. An analyzer machine for a 24/7 process production line, right? So that machine has to keep on running all the time, and it needs a good analyzer, and we give 99.9% uptime. And finally, a market research client, we do a deeper analysis at half the cost of our bigger competition. These are powerful messages that earn the right to the next step in the process. So these powerful messages and the future story they convey are low-hanging fruit in our selling process to open more opportunity and close more opportunity. Here's a fortune cookie that I recently got at a Chinese restaurant that seems to align here. You use your creative talents to transform a business environment. So a next good step might be to get your team together, not just your sales team, but key decision makers in your company, and go for the power of the wisdom in the room. How do you earn the right to advance the relationship? Note, selling is a thinking person's profession. Now, how do you apply all these great ideas you put together, which again is your humility, earning the right? How do you apply it to negotiation? Well, they put arrows in your quiver. Let's say you have 10 great ideas to offer a client built into your offer. Only offer them 5 or 6. And then if they try to beat you up on price, bring out another one and another one and another one, so that as part of this ideation, it's going to help you with your negotiation also. Instead of reducing price, show there's more value. Now, in your standard sales call, where there are 3 parts, 1 to 7 is warm up the prospect, make it serious, so that in 8 to 12 you do fact finding, and in 13 to 18 you prove you have the right solution and close the sale. So humility, there's a specific humility step. I hope to earn the right to your business, and then it's embedded in your entire selling process. This is particularly important with dealing with entrepreneurs who founded their businesses and usually bled to do it. They have no use for people with an entitlement attitude. Now, in the book Good to Great, where Collins talks about level 5 leadership, he has this wonderful metaphor for showing humility. Wonderful metaphor. He says, when you're successful in a process, look out the window in front of you and give credit to the whole team. But if you have a setback, ask yourself, look in the mirror and ask yourself, what could I have done? Now, in a suboptimal organization, the window and the mirror are reversed. So with success, you pat yourself in the back, you look in the mirror. And with failure, you look out the window and say, it's someone else's fault. This is something that I've seen some salespeople do. They'll say our price is too high, or we don't have the right dating terms, or we don't have the right inventory, or turnaround time, as opposed to finding the customers who want our offer, making more sales calls, being more assertive. Now, the mirror is the opposite of learned helplessness. Unfortunately, sometimes salespeople kind of embrace learned helplessness. Learned helplessness describes how baby elephants are trained to be afraid of a rope. They put a metal stake in the ground, attach it to a rope, and attach it to a baby elephant's leg. And then the baby elephant learns to fear the rope because it doesn't have the strength to pull out the stake. Well, later in life, when it's a big 10,000-pound elephant, a keeper who weighs 150 pounds can move that elephant from one place to another just by putting a rope around it because the elephant is afraid of the rope. That's called learned helplessness. There are actually salespeople who have learned helplessness. There's nothing I could do. It's a commodity. It's all price. It comes down to relationship, and I don't have one. Well, there's usually a lot of things you could do. And if you want some advice, give me a call. Having all these tools like your messaging is not enough. Strong tools are not enough. You need a strong mindset. Here I refer to the story of Cadmus from Ovid's Metamorphosis. Cadmus was a prince who wanted to found a new city on a certain spot. He took an army there, and unfortunately, when he got there, what did he find? There was a fire-breathing dragon there who, in short order, killed the entire army. And so now Cadmus is belly to belly with this fire-breathing dragon and has to vanquish him. And here's what Ovid tells us. To shield his body, he donned the skin of a lion, For weapons, he took his iron-tipped spear, his javelin, and most important than all, what's more important than the skin of a lion that gives you invulnerability, or your iron-tipped spear or your javelin? Most important of all, the courage to wield them. Do you have the courage to use your selling tools, to use your strong messaging, and the half idea principle, which is coming up in a moment? Do you have the courage to wield them? So one type of bold behavior is the half idea principle. And the basic concept is if we bring half of a good idea to the table, then the prospect should finish the idea, providing the other half. And it's a negotiation idea. It's a call for fairness. So here's an example. I once developed a product and I showed it to Kmart, and Kmart actually liked it. But they told me I had to pack it in a 6-pack instead of the 12-pack I offered. Now, Kmart could have said, you don't have the right offer, without focusing in on this one aspect, the number of products per package. So the question here is, how do you ask for fairness? And this calls for boldness, and this is a form of negotiation. Hey, sounds like here's a script. Sounds like we can meet your urgent need. We may have a fit. Can I count on you to give me feedback, to guide me in preparing the proposal for a win-win relationship? In other words, will you finish the idea? This is bold behavior. You know, often the price budget buyer is stuck, and we may have to find somebody else in the organization. So they just go into denial because they're a price buyer and they can't change. And we need to find someone in the organization who cares about value. And that person, they can change the organization. This model on change comes from a book called On Death and Dying. So in your standard sales call are embedded both tactics and strategy. And just to review key points, in your pre-call planning, you're going to be doing research, right? And you're going to build that research into your agenda, which will also give you control. So meetings should have an agenda in advance. In your bonding, you're going to take the buyer from a social to business, perhaps using your research. In your humility, you're going to talk about earning the right. Your freebie is the free gift, no strings attached, that earns the right to presenting the splash, what we're known for. And then ask the prospect, as a condition precedent to fact-finding, what would make this meeting a success? Well, we all know Rome wasn't built in a day, so we've kind of come to the end of today's presentation. You might want to stop for a moment and think about your takeaways, if any. I do want to tell you about our next webinar. It's time pacing sales, making it happen faster. How do you build a relationship and make relationships and sales happen faster? Is it within our control? And it'll be on 10/19 at 11 o'clock. And we'll probably discuss some other aspects of overcoming the 3 fatal flaws in selling. So thanks again for joining us today. If you have any questions, write to me at andyg@urgencybasedselling.net, or send me or go to our website, www.urgencybasedselling.net. So thanks again. And here we're going to end our presentation.